In this episode of Crystal Uncorked, I'm talking to my friend and such an inspiration, Mary Barbera. Mary is on a mission to turn autism around, and she is doing exactly that through her book, her training courses, and through speaking. It's all about spreading awareness. And so this is airing in April, which is Autism Awareness Month. And so I'm so honored that she was on the show. She shared a story of Elena, a little girl that she helped through her courses. And I can't wait for you to hear the story. It's so inspiring. I had full body chills. And we also peek behind her business because she's had this interesting progression of falling into the autism world and writing books and being this online marketer and winning awards, and just what she's done with her career is really amazing. The progression of it all is just very interesting to hear. So get comfortable as you listen to this conversation. But first, I'd like to share a little bit more about Mary. Dr. Mary Barbera fell into the autism world in 1999 when her firstborn son, Lucas, was diagnosed with autism. Over the past 2 decades, Mary transformed a confused and overwhelmed parent to a Board Certified Behavior Analyst and best-selling author. After earning a PhD, Mary launched her first online course in early 2015 and later built a membership program to help both parents and autism professionals. In her vlogs, podcasts, books, webinars, and online courses, Mary teaches her unique step-by-step system and method to help children with autism or signs of autism talk more while reducing or eliminating tantrums and other behavior problems. Mary's latest book, Turn Autism Around, was published in 2021 by Hay House and is helping parents and professionals start turning things around for young children with early signs of autism and older children with a diagnosis who are still struggling with talking, tantrums, eating, sleeping, and potty training. For more information, go to marybarbera.com. And like I said, very excited for this episode. Are you ready to open up and talk about all things business? I'm Crystal Vilkaitis, a curious entrepreneur who loves talking about business, especially over a glass of wine. I started Crystal Uncorked to share open and honest conversations about my journey and talk to other entrepreneurs about their experiences. We pull back the curtain and talk about the highs and the lows. Wine isn't required, but is recommended. This is Crystal Uncorked. Mary, welcome to Crystal Uncorked. I'm so excited you're here.
I am excited to be here. I have listened to several of your podcast interviews. I've loved them. So it's a real pleasure to be here tonight.
Well, that's something I want to say before we dive into our conversation is that you and I met at a Jeff Walker event, Launch Club. We joined his mastermind, and there was this Spokesperson of the Year award competition. And there were 10 finalists, and Mary and I were we were both finalists, as well as Una and Laura, who have been on the show. That's how we all met. And when we heard Mary was a finalist, we all were like, Mary's won. Like, we don't stand a chance. This is so Mary's. She has an amazing mission that I'm really excited to share and have her talk about today. But that's why, like, we just knew she would win. And sure enough, she did. But something I just want to say to you, Mary, like, we are in this mastermind now after meeting, and you are just so incredibly supportive in the group to everyone. And I feel so supported by you. Like you just mentioned, you've watched several episodes. When I was starting this show, you gave me a course to watch through Pat Flynn that totally helped me. Like you've just been, I feel like, in my corner, and I really, really appreciate your support. And I'm just so excited to have you on the show.
Yeah, well, I feel the same way. I think we have, we as finalists went to a mastermind with Jeff Walker in Durango in 2018. I did win. So in addition to that mastermind, I also won a trip voucher. So I took 15 of us on a family cruise, which was amazing. And then we founded the Durango Six as 6 women that were in Durango together. And we've been meeting, we started off weekly, then bi-weekly, then now we just are like every 2 to 3 months, but we have a very active little mastermind going, and I feel really supported, and we all of our businesses have totally grown up, and all because of that competition, which was amazing. So
It
yeah,
was
I
amazing.
feel excited to be here to, share what I know to help your listeners.
Exactly, which I'm so excited to do. And before we do it, Mary, what are you drinking?
Okay, so I don't really drink much, and especially lately, and on a weeknight. We're recording this on a weeknight, so like I would never like open a bottle of wine because it would really literally go to waste. But since my last name is Barbera, I do get as gifts a lot of Barbera wine, and I do like red wine, and it is red wine, and it's a good wine. You can get it at some restaurants. I don't know, Crystal, have you ever tried Barbera wine?
I love Barbera wine.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So it's great. And I love that. And so if I were opening something, if you were here in person, I would open up my Barbera wine and we would drink it. But I also, because I knew the theme was wine and Crystal uncorked, I got my little sippy cup, which is my wine glass sippy cup. And
Yes.
I have my unsweetened iced tea in there. So I didn't want to be a party pooper and just say I don't drink. So I came a little prepared with my wine theme.
You so did. Mary, I have to get one of those sippy cups. Like, I want the Crystal Uncorked logo on it. Like, that is so fun that
That
it's a
would
wine
be
glass.
perfect.
Yeah.
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 You
For
could do
anybody
that.
who's,
And then you could even send it to your guests as like a little
yes.
parting gift.
Oh my gosh, totally
Yeah.
doing that. For anybody that's listening to this, you obviously can't see it, but it's like a wine glass inside of a sippy cup. It's so brilliant.
And it's plastic, it's travelable. I think I won this. I play bunco with my women friends once a month. Well, I used to before COVID, but I think I won this I'm actually very lucky. I win a lot of competitions. I won my Apple Watch in an
Oh,
auction once. I like win stuff, which is
wow.
amazing. So
That is amazing. Oh my gosh, that's a fun fact I didn't know about you. Oh, well, I love it. Well, I'm glad that you came prepared. I am drinking a cab. No shocker. I'm a big cab person. It's from Paso Robles. The Dow is the winery, which I haven't been to, but I've heard it's like epic view in Paso. And so cheers, Mary. So glad that you are here.
cheers.
And Mary, so you have had an interesting progression in your career. You kind of fell into the autism world, and then you wrote a book, and then you became an award-winning online marketer. So will you take a step back and share with my audience, how did you fall into the autism world?
Right. So I became a registered nurse, and then I went for my master's degree right away because it was prepaid tuition at Penn, at the University of Penn, because I was working at the hospital attached to it. So I had a master's degree in nursing administration at the age of 25, and married a physician, Charlie, who I'm still married to, and I got pregnant. We moved back to my hometown when I was 9 months pregnant. I had two kids back to back, Lucas and then Spencer, 18 months later. And at the time, I had already done some speaking, some research, some publications in the nursing field in areas like shift to shift report, like the 7 to 3 shift, giving report to the 3 to 11 shift. I did publications on nursing retention and time management, and they were all very administrative, behavioral, making systems better, I also worked in the neuro field with neurologically impaired patients and spinal cord patients. I worked in rehab, so there was multidisciplinary teams and goals, and working with occupational therapists, speech therapists, PTs, so helping patients who had strokes or head injuries get more independent with self-care, learn to talk again. There was some, bowel and bladder issues with just about every neurologic patient. So my whole nursing career actually set me up And I thought after I had my kids, this actually is in my first book, The Verbal Behavior Approach, which was published in 2007. I say I was at an icebreaker, 2 little kids and no autism in the picture that I knew of. And we went around the room saying what we used to do for a living, because we were all stay-at-home moms at the time, and what we were planning to do. So I was like, I was a nurse manager. And after my kids were a little older, I planned to go back into the nursing field, not nursing. I was going to go back and get my PhD and research, present, publish in some yet to be determined field. In my mind, that was going to be nursing, but I was going to study, systems and change and that sort of thing. So anyway, flash forward to had baby Spencer. Lucas is 18 months. He starts to actually regress. He's completely unaware of the baby. We could have brought a plastic doll baby home and put it in the crib for as much as he would. Little kids. I mean, it's hard for 18-month-old to comprehend, like mommy's having a baby or something. But it wasn't even like on the radar. Was, he was obsessed with his pacifier, obsessed with watching Barney on TV, wasn't sleeping well, wasn't eating well, and then it's winter and I just had a new baby and, the kids get sick and you're just like, okay, is this a reaction to the baby? And every kid goes through phases. And so at 21 months, my husband mentioned the possibility of autism. And this is back in 1998 when autism, there's no Facebook, there's no Google, there's no nobody talking about it. The rate of autism was like 1 in 500, which is still a major increase from the past, but it still wasn't like every other child had something going on. Right. And so I told him on that day he dropped the A word, that I never, ever wanted to hear the word autism again. Lucas had some words. He was warm and cuddly with me. He didn't have it, shut him down, went into a deep state of denial. And then Lucas continued. I mean, he made some progress. And then you were like, okay, is this a phase? And but, we started him in speech therapy. We started him in typical toddler preschool. He wasn't like biting anybody. He wasn't throwing a fit. He really had a very even-keeled, laid-back personality from the start. So even though he was really language impaired, he wasn't a very fussy kid. He didn't cry a lot. So then that's confusing too. And you're like hoping it's just a speech delay. But, at some point it got to be like, okay, I need to at least look into the possibility. And when I looked into the possibility about autism, started reading a couple of books, I was just like, oh my God, he has it. And he has all the symptoms. And there's so much I could do and I could have done at 21 months. And so then I was mad, because everybody, the speech therapist didn't say it was autism. The pediatrician blew me off, and so like, it wasn't just me. There was a lot of false reassurance and even like what to expect when you're expecting or what to expect the toddler years. In those books, at least at the time, it was like completely unaware, rocking. Like that wasn't Lucas. Lucas was going to typical preschool, so it was confusing. So anyway,
totally.
Once he was diagnosed, I had read about applied behavior analysis, which is the science of changing behavior. And really what I was doing in the nursing field was changing behavior, changing systems to make things better. So patients would get better care and nurses wouldn't leave and, they would be happier. So it was, even though I didn't know what ABA was until the late 90s, I was doing quote unquote ABA since the 80s, I mean, everybody, ABA is happening all around you. So there's actually a lot of controversy about ABA. Like ABA is also like a package for children. And, in the past, like even with regular parenting, in the past, kids were spanked in some households or even at schools. And, like there's a kind of a lot of baggage around the first forms of ABA, but it's also a science that's happening all around us every single day. So when people say, oh, I don't like ABA, or even some people accuse ABA of being abused, like my kind of ABA is really just child-friendly, very centered on any delays. Like even my new book's called Turn Autism Around, an action guide for parents of young children with early signs of autism. People go, well, what do you mean turn autism around? That's like a lifelong condition. It's like, we need to treat delays, because now the rate of autism is 1 in 42.
Wow.
And
it's a big difference.
Yeah, from 1 in 500. And so now we have not only denial, we have waiting lists for evaluations, waiting lists for diagnosis, waiting lists for treatment, all over the place. Now there's really no stigma. If there's 1 in 40, there's, everybody listening, even though the show is about entrepreneur,
Right.
It's very likely that your listeners all know somebody with autism, or a toddler who's showing signs of autism, maybe a toddler who has speech delays and you don't know if it's autism, or maybe they have a preschooler with ADHD or sensory processing differences. And now with COVID in the mix, forget it. It's just COVID, waiting lists were already pre-COVID 9 months to 2 years for an evaluation in the United States.
Wow.
And now
9 months to 2 years.
Yes, just for an evaluation.
Jeez.
And so people I missed the critical 1 year window because of my denial. But now we've got denial on top of waiting lists. And there's so much you can do, like in the neuro field and the nursing field. We used to say, the first year after a head injury, the first year after a stroke, it's the golden year. And the same thing with any kind of autism or any kind of neurologic impairment is, your brain is, they call it like more plastic, more pliable. You can make a lot of gains. So basically, I became a behavior analyst in 2003. So, started programming for Lucas. I didn't know what to do. We had to hire experts. And then after we hired experts, I'm like, oh my God, this is so scary. Like nobody knows what they're doing. This is frightening. And because of my background, like managing people, hiring, firing, systems things, helping people with head injuries learn to walk and talk and toilet train again. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is such a mess.
Yeah.
And so I went back, became a behavior analyst, wrote my first book in 2007. It's in 15 languages now. Then I, had to figure out how to promote a book, how to write a book. I learned so much online, and then went on to earn a PhD in 2011. And then people were like, well, what are you going to do now with your PhD? And I said, I need to figure out how to get my message out online, because I was traveling around the world speaking on autism. I was going door to door with a lot of people that gave me video permission actually early on, starting in 2010. And so I was like, I got to figure out how to get online. And so that's when I met you. I figured out through Jeff Walker's book, and then made my way to LaunchCon and Launch Club. And so then I was like, okay, now I'm just selling online courses. I had no plans to write another book. And then I was in Durango for the second time at Jeff Walker's secret headquarters, and we just got talking, and I all of a sudden decided I'm going to write another book. And that was 2008. No, 18 is when we went, and 19 was when I got to go again. And in 2019, at the end, before COVID, I got the contract. And then this book, Turn Autism Around, came out last spring. It's already going to be in 5 or 6 languages. It's already sold thousands of copies. It was bestseller status in a number of categories on Amazon. So, we're just moving and grooving and helping parents and professionals online, and trying to get the word out about these easy, child-friendly techniques that really can improve language, decrease problem behaviors, teach pointing, imitation, all the things that could be autism or might not be. It might be just a simple speech delay. It could be COVID isolation. It could be sensory process. It could be early signs of a learning disability or ADHD. And acting early is really key.
It is. That's what I've learned through knowing you over these years, is acting early is so critical. But so they can learn all of that in the book, right? How to determine all of that. I mean, like, this is, if you know of anybody, if you have a kid, grandkid, there, to your point, I have family members that have autism. I have colleagues in the industry who granddaughter was diagnosed. Like, I feel like it is so much more present in today's society. And you bring up such an interesting point I hadn't thought about, like, COVID, being home and not now. Is the wait list even longer now because of COVID? Like, that's terrifying. Yeah. I mean, and I remember this from your presentation. Like, weren't you on a wait list and you're like, I can't wait this long. Like, I need to act right away. And you really jumped into action, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I had already waited over a year because of my denial. Right. But then once I was like, read a book and was like, oh my gosh, these are the symptoms and this is what I need to do. I need to get on this like yesterday. And then it's a panic. And at the time I waited a few months and then a few more months of waiting for actual therapy to start. But it is just ridiculous. And what a lot of people happened during COVID for a lot of people is that they were on a waiting list or they had just had their evaluation and they were like going to then get into the second waiting list for treatment and everything shut down. Mm-hmm. So people that weren't even in the system didn't even get Zoom calls. It was like they were just in limbo. And one of the online participants found my course through like a Facebook ad or something. And she joined. She had a 2-year-old who just was diagnosed. And she joined my online course. And one of the little exercises, homework, we don't collect it at this point, but you set a timer for a certain period. She set a timer for an hour and she got 2 words out of the little girl in that hour, mom and doggy. And she did the course. And then at the end of the course, I say, okay, do that language sample again. And she got in 1 hour, in 33 days, so only a month of just the course, she went from 2 words to 180 words and phrases with contractions, prepositions, pronouns. I mean, she was like the roof blew off. I mean, and there was no confounding, well, she was getting a little OT or speech. No, she was getting nothing. She didn't leave the house. She had a 2-year-old and a baby and mom trapped inside. And a husband that was a police officer that was leaving and coming back. But she didn't take the girls even to the grocery store. Wow. There was nothing else. And so I ended up writing up that as a case study white paper. So I just published that on 2/22/22, which was this little girl. Her name is Elena, and she's in my book. And Elena turned 4 on 2/22/22 when I published a case study just by accident. I interviewed her mom for my podcast. I know. And she is now 2 years after treatment, fully conversational, in typical preschool, 0 support, miraculous. And I don't say miraculous very much, but even, I mean, I know my stuff works, but like, what? Yes. What happened? Right. Just watching the course. Really?
Oh, man. That is amazing, Mary. Just insane chills as you're talking about that. Thank goodness for your course during the lockdown and that she found this course. And that's your whole thing. That is your mission, to get the word out. You can help turn autism around. That's why the book is called that. You have proven methods. And I'm just so grateful for all the parents out there and children that you are here to help support them, because I can't even imagine, we don't have kids, but I can't imagine that's got to be terrifying for the parent, and you're grasping at straws and just trying to help your child. And so I'm so glad that you have, that we have you.
All these same techniques. I mean, even if you have a typically developing 18-month-old, 2-year-old, these are easy activities: potato head, a shoebox, pictures of mommy and daddy, insert puzzles. These are all just really good ways to engage your child. And so even if you don't think it's autism, and that's why, I really went back and forth about putting autism even in the title, because it turns off people.
Right.
They don't want to go there, like I didn't want to go there. But one of the first people I met with an autistic child, she's like, you need to figure out what they're doing to help kids with severe autism. And that's, it's working for kids with severe autism. It's going to work for your child, who I thought at the time was just speech delayed. But these are, it's not going to hurt anything. And besides the, the wait list getting longer, also everybody has masks on. Kids don't go to the grocery store. They don't go to story time at the library. They got locked out of daycare and preschool for a few months. And it is affecting their ability to separate from their parents, to, a lot of people are trying to work from home and trying to raise these little kids, and little kids need a lot of engagement. They don't need a lot of iPad time. Right. And that's what kids are getting, and I'm not here to judge, because, right. Lucas gets a lot of, and always has, but these restrictions and measurements are certainly affecting development.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for taking us through that journey and for what you do. It's so incredible. And I love hearing these stories. I feel like I could listen to all your success stories for like hours and hours. It's so inspiring. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about your business and hear from you. So what are 3 key lessons or tips that really propelled you to get to your current level in terms of impact and or revenue?
Yeah. So, I think 3 lessons. Let's see. First lesson is just get started with something. If you have, I had a desire to try to get my message out online. I mean, this is like 2010, 2011. Things were really not online, right. In terms of online courses and that sort of thing. But I think I just have always been like, if there's a way, I'm going to figure it out. So, joined a couple online or, things. I think I joined something with Brendan Bouchard, and that got me into, I didn't understand like a JV affiliate, but I ended up in Cherry Hill, New Jersey at some other guy that I thought was like best friends with Brendan, but he wasn't. And like, right. Just, read Jeff Walker's book. I did that. And that was the best return on investment ever for a $15 book, right. And if he says, okay, do a seed launch, just get started, put one foot in front of the other. Doesn't have to be perfect. I know James Wedmore, who is a pretty big entrepreneur. I remember I was at a conference and he was a speaker, but this was during the Q&A session or whatever. And it was just the coffee time. And somebody was asking him a question. I wasn't even my question. I was just hanging back, listening, gleaning any information. And he told this other woman, he's like, your avatar needs you. He's like, they do not have time to wait for you to build a yacht. You get into your rusty rowboat and you go out and you help them. They are going to be so happy to see you.
Yes.
So, I love that advice because, had I not gotten started with a desire to get online and then just putting one foot in front of the other, okay, podcast. I wanted to start a podcast. Well, I didn't even know if I wanted to, but I bought a course, Right. And then I sat on it for months. And then I was like, no, I really want to do a podcast, binge watch it, do it. So I think getting started, making investments, is important. There's so many like scams out there that you're just like, is this a scam? Is this,
Right.
but when you really do, like you, Crystal, or Jeff Walker, like, you guys are authentic. You're not slimy salespeople. And so, like, if you find authentic people, watch them, see what they're investing in, see how they, I love the question. Like, so number one is get started. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And Jeff Walker has a whole section of his book, a whole section of his course on the seed launch. I've created every product with a seed launch.
Love it.
Number two, I'd say not hire full time, but get contractors to help you as early as possible. And, when I joined Launch Club, I couldn't afford it. I had to put it on a credit card monthly, which made it even more expensive. I mean, could I have, I could have probably, but it's okay to kind of, all right, is this going to be worth it? Like now I am actually, I have a contract with a software developer. That's going to be a big investment. I don't even know what investment is going to be, but at this point, I want to get somebody that can help me get there quicker, faster, more expedited, more efficiently, because I have a big message.
Yep.
And people need it.
Yep.
So hire, contract, great book. I know Crystal has recommended it. Crystal's given me a lot of great recommendations, but who, not how. Just find the who to help you get it done. Like if I would have not hired to have somebody do a website, to have somebody do funnels within Infusionsoft, I'd still be spinning my wheels.
Totally. Yep.
So get started, hire fast. And I only have one full-time employee and myself. At some points, I had 3 of us, 2 others, and myself. I don't have a huge team. I have, probably 10 contractors and agencies, and I, if the software takes off, if a couple other initiatives take off, I am going to have to hire bigger. And I'm going to have to hire somebody that can manage all the bigger people too, because I can't get into the weeds. And then I think my final lesson is the quicker you can get to recurring income, the more stable you will be and the more you'll be able to scale. So, Jeff Walker's world, and I'm still in it. I'm actually in his mastermind now. Is very much about launching, and with launching comes, peaks and valleys. And with my system, my approach, it's like people in all parts of the world. We have purchasers from over 90 countries. People in all different time zones, all different languages need my course right this second.
Yep.
And so I was never comfortable launching twice a year, right?
Exactly.
And so I have been completely on Evergreen, and for over 3 years, I have not done any live launching. I haven't even done any live promotions. I will redo a webinar, but I'll do it into the camera and I'll pretend I'm live. Like literally, we don't do live stuff because, even if we were doing this live, I mean, if one of us really goes off or there's, coughing and, you can't really, I mean, it's fine live. I have no problem going live. It's just all the back end mess that it creates. And now once I have this very standard system of Evergreen, the other thing I can do really well, because I'm all on Evergreen and recurring, is I can scale my ads. So I've had some ads going for years. And you can scale very easily. So right now I'm almost done. I'm ready to launch a mini course for the first time. So my 2 courses that I offer are $497. And then this is the first time I'm doing a mini course. It's called No More Timeout. And it's for young kids, 1 to 5, who, you want to teach them in a very positive, child-friendly way. And timeout is one of the most overused and incorrectly used strategies in the whole world for kids. I want no parts of timeout. And so in the mini course, I basically go deep with not only why you shouldn't do it, but what you can do instead, and some easy techniques to really prevent any kind of problem behaviors and turn that around.
Nice.
With the idea that really, if you want to go fast and you want to be as expedited as possible, the online course is your best avenue. But you can also get very similar information in my book, Turn Autism Around. So there's price ranges of the book, which you can get a free Kindle or Audible, and you can get free book resources, read the first chapter, so there's you can loan the book from the library. So there's free. I do podcasts every week that are free, lots of video blogs. One of my YouTube, I have over 100,000 subscribers. I got a, I don't know if you can see it. That one.
Your YouTube plaque, where is it at? There it is.
There. It's for
Look at that beauty.
100,000 subscribers. And, one of my videos is it Speech Delay or Autism has 1.1 million views.
Wow. That's awesome.
So there are a lot of free stuff, a lot of very low cost stuff with my book. And then $497, and now that middle mini course I think is going to really do well, because a lot of people, they want to tiptoe in, but a whole course and the money and the time, they want to see. I think there's a lot of people there that want to dip their toe a little bit in before they fully immerse.
Totally. Well, Mary, I just want to add to a little bit of what you said, because these are like excellent points as far as like what's really helped you go next level. Like the getting started, I think, is the hardest part for people, right? Today I was looking at my to-do list. I'm like, how in the world am I getting this shit done? Like, oh my gosh. But you know what? You just start. You just get started. You do it, because then you'll start knocking things off. You get more clarity. So love that advice. Who, not how is like, you can't go at this alone. And especially for somebody like you who's got this big mission. Great advice. And then I mean, like the fact that you haven't done live launches, if anybody is listening to this who is in the internet marketing world, like it's a lot of fucking work to do a live launch. Like it's a lot of work. And sometimes you have failed launches and you're like, I was really counting on that revenue injection. Like, oh my gosh, what are we doing now? And you have to scramble. So the fact that you've set up your business to be kind of autopilot on evergreen, so you same ads to this, you got the funnel going and it converts, like that's such a beautiful thing to get to. And it can take some testing and learning, but like it's just such a beautiful thing. And for me, like I'm a person who really likes comfort. And so having your secure revenue, you know, like this is working, it gives you some of that confidence and frees you up to do some of the other things that you're more passionate about. Like you getting out there, speaking on podcasts and just sharing your mission is more important than doing all these live launches all the time and kind of working behind the scenes. So those are awesome tips for the audience. And Mary, I want to know, I'm sure that you have a lot of these, I would imagine, but can you tell me one crazy story that's happened to you over all these years?
I mean, I think just winning actually that competition, all right. So I read Jeff Walker's book called Launch, which was published in 2014. I was dabbling in, I had bought a little bit from Brendon Burchard, and I'm trying to piece it together. Like, how do you get online? And even back then it was like a little rough. So I read Jeff's book, flying to and from Germany, where I was speaking there. And I took 8 pages of notes, like page 27, the pre-launch email, and literally, and I got home from that trip and I'm like, okay, page 37, okay. And I had this, a little list of like 1,000 people or 2,000 people from my first book, like, and my website that, somebody said, you need a, download newsletter, and I start gimping along with that. And, so I send out the pre-launch, hey, I'm thinking about starting a course, and I had no idea what I was doing. And so it was like, I don't know if nobody's going to buy, 3 people are going to buy, 300 people are going to buy. About 50 people bought, and I made like $20,000-ish, and I got off to the races, right? So fast forward, and I didn't want to do a lifetime access because I literally didn't know what I was doing. And I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to like this. I don't know if it's going to work. So I just did like 60 or 90 days access. And then I was like, okay, that worked. Let me launch again. Okay, cohort 1, you can stay around. Be nice to cohort 2. And then by the time I got to like cohort 3, they were like begging me for the next course, like what to do with intermediate learners. And I'm like, oh God, that's going to take me forever to do. And I was like, okay, well, just pay me like $30 a month to stay while I create that. You can pay me another beta fee for creating that. Anyway, fast forward to 2016, and I get invited, we all got invited that were on Jeff Walker's list to LaunchCon, the first LaunchCon. And I wasn't even a PLF owner, Product Launch Formula. So I'm like, oh, it's going to be advanced launching, evergreen and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, this is perfect, right? So I go to LA by myself, and I'm like, okay, I'll get VIPs because I'm going by myself. It's going to be awkward, So I show up and I'm like, I have no idea what this is going to be like. And there's 1,000 people there, and he's giving away a red Ferrari. Were you there?
I wasn't. I was at the PLF that was after it when you were on the panel.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I go in and I'm like, wow, this is strange, right? It's strange. It's like, what are they giving away a car for,
Yeah.
And then it starts and everybody's like on their chairs and dancing. And I'm like, this guy's like a couple years older than me, dancing around the stage. And like, I was just like, I've been to autism conference, nursing conferences I used to speak at. Like, this was like, what? Yeah. And then they did the competition, which I think I was out of the room. Like, I didn't even know what was happening really. And then all of a sudden it's the competition, and it's 4-minute speeches on the stage with 10 of the finalists. And so I'm sitting there, and these people are talking about, different businesses, but I'm sitting there thinking, and they're giving away the Ferrari to the winner. And the speeches were good, but I was used to speaking on stages around the world to 1,000 people, 3,000 people. Like, I have a story, I've got, a thing, and I was like, oh man, I could totally be on this stage, right? And so the only reason I joined Launch Club was, and they gave away the second place to all the finalists, which was a Durango mastermind. I had no interest in the car, really. Right. That would have just been a pain to win a car in LA in this conference center. Like, I can't imagine the hassle.
Exactly.
But I thought if I could get on his stage, that would help me spread my word, right? Absolutely. If I could get on his radar, maybe that would work, right?
Right.
And I specifically joined Launch Club with the one intention to be on Jeff Walker's stage and to be a top 10 finalist for the following year. And then I got on his stage in the spring when you went, and then I got on the stage as one of the finalists, and then I ended up winning the whole thing. But my real prize was getting on Jeff's radar, which has been huge. Yeah. And like, he introduced me to read from Hay House, and my book's published by Hay House, and I know Jeff personally. I can text him, not that I do all the time, but,
Right.
I feel like his support and his connections and his stage has really propelled me in a lot of ways. But I mean, that's a pretty crazy story because you're
Yeah.
just like, what is happening?
Yeah. I could just see you, like knowing you over these years too, in our mastermind. Like a lot of us are kind of woo woo, and we'll talk about like woo woo stuff and astrology and feelings and visualize. And Mary's like doctor, like get to it. And so I could see you walking into this being like, what is going on? And then how wild all of a sudden you're like, nope, that's going to be me. Next year I'm up there, And you did it and you won. And I mean, like there's just been so many ripples to that whole event and to Jeff Walker, and such a fun story. I love that story so much, Mary, and I'm so glad that you did it, because that's how we met.
We wouldn't have ever met.
I know. Exactly. What is a secret weapon, hack, tool, and or app that you use that you're willing to spill to my audience?
Well, I was just thinking today, like Zoom, what would we do without Zoom? Like I am on Zoom all the time. I was pre-COVID and post-COVID. There's actually a good app. I believe it's an app. I'm not even 1,000% sure, but it's called Descript.
Okay.
Descript.
Okay.
And Jeff Walker told us about it somewhere when COVID shut down, and he had to like create a live launch quickly. And what Descript does is it basically transcribes your videos for like a monthly or annual fee, but it's really cheap. And I think it also does like closed captioning. I don't know. It does. I don't personally use it, but I know my team really does. And I know that was kind of a game changer, because before that we were like doing Rev or Temi, but Descript really is what we do. We put, like with the software developer guy, we had done a call with him a couple weeks ago when we were interviewing candidates, and we recorded it. And so today, in preparation for the meeting, I don't want to have to watch that recording. I don't even know what I said. It was brainstorming and whatever. So I asked my assistant, I'm like, can you put it through Descript and make an agenda for today's meeting so that we're not like all over the place? We didn't even know we were going to select him, because it was just an interview. And he got me talking. Well, what are you thinking? And I started babbling. And, so today we recorded the meeting again, but Rachel was there to take notes. So I don't think we're going to have to Descript it and everything. But I think running things through Descript and then picking out things to repurpose, things to make an intro for, has been a game changer.
I am so going to use that, because it makes me think about how, like, next week I'm going to be on vacation. So my marketing team is going to have a meeting without me. So I'm like, we'll record it. But then I could probably read it a lot faster and be caught up. And I think about the training we do for our retailers. So, some people like to watch, some people like to listen, and some people like to read. So for anybody who is creating any kind of training or meetings, delivering that content in the different ways that cater to that type of person, it just makes it so much more helpful. So I've got to check out Descript. I haven't heard about that one. That's awesome.
Yeah. And we transcribe everything, like all of our courses, all of our podcast blogs. We do a lot of repurposing. So, transcribing is key for us. And when we want to edit something or redo it, especially if you're working with a team. But Descript has been and it's not that expensive.
Awesome. Thanks for spilling. It's our segment, kind of like spill the tea, but spill the tip.
And can you imagine if I would have just said Zoom? Because
I know.
Yeah. Okay, Zoom is my special trick.
It's my secret weapon that nobody knows about. Oh my God, that's so funny. Mary, tell people how they can find out more information about you.
Yeah, so there's a couple ways. MaryBarbera.com is my main website, but you can always, if you're out running or driving and you're like, oh, what was that? Autism chick. Just search Mary Autism plus whatever topic you think you're concerned about. Is it speech delay or autism? Potty, sleep, eating, tantrums, biting, hitting. I've done stuff on all of it, advocacy. So just search Mary Autism plus your topic, and there's got to be some information that will pop up. But my website, marybarbera.com, will get you to everything. You could get free book resources. You could attend a free workshop and get into my funnel to join my online course. A lot of people have hacked it to try to figure out my evergreen system. It is pretty complex. I do have bucketing for parents versus professionals, young kids versus older kids. So over the years, we've created quite a system to serve as many people as possible. But really my main mission right now is to get to the parents of the younger kids, the earlier intervention professionals who that's the best time to turn things around. It's never too early or too late to intervene. So I don't want to, make people feel bad if they, like me, were in denial or it's taken them longer to get to the point. And the spectrum is really huge. So if you have a fully conversational child or you're an adult with autism, my stuff's probably not going to be for you. Although I have a podcast called Turn Autism Around, and I have interviewed 6 or 7 autistic adults who are, given just a great perspective. A few of the adults have kids on the spectrum, so they give that lens. One of the autistic individuals is also a behavior analyst like me. So we talk all about the controversy of ABA. So, I have stuff, but my courses are mostly for kids, regardless of their real age, who are functioning at a 1 to 5 year old level in terms of talking, tantrums, eating, sleeping, potty, those sorts of things. And I can really help move the needle for those kids. But the spectrum is very wide. My son, Lucas, is now 25. He still has moderate to severe autism. He needs lifelong care, 24/7 supervision. And my other son, Spencer's in med school. So all of these techniques work for everybody, being positive, being systematic, assessing the situation. Being a behavior analyst, I think, is really helpful in terms of running my business as well. And just not overreacting. Like, I rarely get really stressed. I can't remember the last time I cried, like years. And people are like, what? I'm like, yeah, I never cry. And I'm like, it's not to brag about it, but I just, I'm pretty even keeled. So it takes me a lot to get myself, overly stressed or overly excited. So, so just search me, find me, spread the word. It doesn't have to be autism. I hope it's not, because it's really easy to put these techniques in place for a child with a little speech delay and see all kind of progress. So better to learn the techniques and learn how to engage kids, whether you're a parent or grandparent or aunt or neighbor.
Totally. Mary, this is a random question. Have you seen the Netflix series Love on the Spectrum?
I love that. I love reality TV shows of all sorts, especially love ones. I just finished Love is Blind. I'm watching The Bachelor, Married at First Sight. Love all of that junk, which is another crazy story, because people are like, okay, you watch a lot of reality TV and you have a PhD and you're on this serious mission. It's like, that is my guilty pleasure. So Love on the Spectrum, we'll watch both series, both seasons, and love it.
Yeah, I do too. I highly recommend it. Mary, I had no idea you love love shows. I love love. I love all the love shows. When that came out, Dustin and I watched the first season together. We're both crying. It's done so well. And then season 2 came out when I was traveling, and I come back and he's like, "Oh, season 2 is out, but I already watched it all." I'm like, "You binged it without me? What's wrong with you? I'm the one who loves the love shows." So, I mean, it really I really recommend that. It was beautifully done. But Mary, I thank you so much for your time, for sharing a peek behind the curtain at your business and just this open conversation. Thank you for what you're doing for the world. Let's turn autism around. And one last cheers to you, Mary. Cheers. Everyone, we will link to Mary as always. Go check her out or share this episode with anybody that you feel like would find it helpful. I'm sure that there is someone in your life that would. So be sure to hit that share button. And Mary, thank you again. Everyone, I will see you on the next See You. Bye-bye. All right, let's keep this conversation going. Join me on Instagram. I'm at Crystal Uncorked. And I need to tell you, thank you so much for listening to this show. It truly means the world to me. If you're enjoying Crystal Uncorked, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Okay, I'll see you on the next See You. Cheers, friend.